Young people. I mean, how old were you when you first had alcohol?
9.
And then, well, how did you start to drink? So the usual way, somebody said, have a drink at this.
Right. Well, I had grown up very fast, and it's not very normal to see a 9-year-old at a big Hollywood party drinking. And it looks a little weird, and people were laughing and just saying, you know, I dare you to do this, and I did. And
you already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bat. Bah. It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, 2 things we got to do. You got to hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos. Hey, like I keep telling you, the merch just dropped. You might want to cop. I'm just saying. It's super fire. But we back with another reaction, man. We back with another conspiracy theory TikTok joint. You make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. Don't forget to put that in the comments. Make sure you put that in the comments. Also, I got a TikTok playlist. If you into this stuff, you can binge watch, but proceed with caution. And share this with the last person you texted your phone, man. But this is gonna be very interesting. So let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Squad, what's popping? Let's get it.
Support the theory that huge stars, megastars, get stuck at the age that they got famous in.
Oh, yeah, there's great research around this. It's not just fame. It refers typically to certain kinds of traumatization. You do experience stunted development. So yes, I absolutely have parts of myself, just like we all do, at critical moments in your life. If they were traumatic, perhaps it could have caused pause or distortion, dysfunction in your development. And then, you know, it's up to us to learn how to process, express, release, cope. But not many of us are even aware of the impact of our early experiences until later. Fame is like, whoa, it's just so beyond our capacity as humans. We didn't evolve for this.
A lot of child stars grow up to be kind of messed up. They have a lot of problems sometimes, man. You know, alcohol, drugs, depression. You know, how hard is it for a person growing up in the spotlight and then they get to be an adult? You know what I'm saying? Like, how hard is that life right there?
It's called MK Ultra. This is what we've all been going through, and we are all just waking up from. So, can't blame the parents because it's a science experiment. They're just trying to do what they had to do to get out of poverty to make sure your little ass is straight. But at the same time, now they don't look like themselves anymore. Now they're free to do whatever the they want. And they have to see this out. Right? Yeah, that's what this is. And it's more like, you know, if you don't know where your is, you're smoking this. If you don't know what's happened with your wife and where she is, you're doing that. You're doing this. If you don't know how to identify these demons, the eye colors and all this shit, you know, if you don't know Leviathan, Belphegor, if you don't know Satan, if you don't know Lucifer, if you don't know what you're talking about and how they're coming, if you don't know how to identify it, then you start smoking all kinds of shit and drinking and getting off up because you can't see it coming. Then all of a sudden you're not the same anymore either. Okay? Because this is very real. That's why they're doing that shit. They were told they were one person, and then one person said, hey, that's this person actually, and then everybody had to go back to being who they really actually are, and they're like, oh shit, I really am this person.
What?
That's what's going on. And when you're told you don't have this anymore, and when you're told you're nothing, and when you're told you ain't shit, and when you're told you ain't never gonna be shit, when you're told you ain't gonna never have nothing, and you're not allowed to do this shit. Nigga, this ain't for you, this is for me. When you're told that all your life, you start believing that shit. It'll make you depressed. It'll push a person off, but it'll make a person kill themselves. If they don't know who they truly are, if they don't have the power to search for, if they don't have the mind power to push and say, hey, why is all this stuff changing around me? You know, don't just go start smoking Don't just start. I've been there. Don't go start smoking and drinking and making your life worse and sitting and soaking in your own bullshit and your own filth and wallowing in trampling about in your own shit. You're making it worser and worser and worser because you don't want to get out of it. You don't see no way out of it. And ain't nobody trying to help. Ain't nobody gonna help you out of that shit. Ain't nobody gonna help you. They don't want you to win. You know what I'm saying? Because they f***ed up too.
All right. Do your own research. It's like he be making sense, then he just go way left, or he be losing me. You know what I'm saying? He be making sense, then he don't make sense. But do your own research, because I got lost in that right there.
There's this idea that for child actors, they aren't really children, that they think of themselves as adults because they're the ones who are supporting their family. And that puts them in situations where it becomes really difficult for them to say no to something or to escape a situation that might be uncomfortable because they have the pressure of being the breadwinner for their family on their shoulders. So that allows things to escalate. It also puts these kids in a situation where they can think, I'm an adult, like I can be having these adult relationships. Like it's normal for me to be friends with someone who is 30 years older than me. It's normal for me to be spending time one-on-one with an adult who kind of might end up trying to approach me.
What in the fuck? This look weird as hell, bro.
Sexually.
Frankly, I think it's not appropriate for children or adolescents. I think until somebody's psychologically developed, they should not be allowed to go anywhere near Hollywood. I think it's just, you don't have the tools. You don't know you don't have the tools. You don't know how to set boundaries. You don't know that the people, everybody around you is saying, I'm your this, I'm your that. Oh, I'm your best friend. Oh, I'm your manager. Oh, it's like, you're all making money off of a child. Like that, the kid, you cannot understand that as a child. Or I couldn't. Maybe some kids can. I was in a lot of sort of toxic and chaotic, dysfunctional environments that I didn't recognize as such because I'd been used to that at home. So in a lot of the behavior I was seeing seemed normal or seemed like familiar to me. So I wasn't really able to identify it as being wildly dysfunctional until much later.
Damn.
Victoria Justice has broken her silence about the Dan Schneider allegations. A couple of months ago, the documentary Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV came out. Former Nickelodeon stars spoke about their experience with show creator Dan Schneider in the documentary. And let's say most of their experiences were far from positive. Victoria Justice was not featured in the documentary, but some of her former castmates were. And a lot of clips from this show she starred in, Victorious, were shown in the documentary to exhibit Dan's behavior. Victoria Justice recently did an interview where she was asked about her relationship with Dan Schneider. She started off by saying that it is very evident from the documentary that Dan has a very large ego. She went on to say that she had moments with Dan Schneider that were in very poor taste, and that she should definitely be on the list of people who Dan owes an apology to.
Wow.
She then went on to say her relationship with Dan is very complex and that she does owe him her career, so she has very mixed feelings about the entire thing.
Should there be child actors?
You know, Mayim Bialik, who was a kid actor on Blossom and has gone on to be incredibly successful and impressive. She said something, I wouldn't let my kids be actors or start acting professionally because kids need to be allowed to have a bad day. And you just can't as a kid actor. I pray that there's more safeties in place now and more guards than there were for us, because this idea was sort of perpetrated of like, don't work with kids or animals.
Yeah.
Of like, they're too much of a headache. And you didn't want that saying to be true about you. You wanted to be like on your mark and know your lines. And
you have to be like a pick-me.
Yeah, you wanted to crush it. If you're having a normal day as a young person and you're just not feeling it, there's no version of that.
Well, as an adult, you can't have a bad day. What's the difference?
You're an adult and you know what you signed up for.
What kind of question is that? What is the difference?
But also the scariest thing was Rodney would refuse to wear clothes. And I didn't know this until I met him, but he...
What? What do you mean he refused to wear...
He doesn't wear clothes. No, listen to this.
There's too much here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have another show.
No. I know.
What do you mean he refused to wear clothes?
He wears a red silk robe that he's had for like 12 years, and he doesn't wear anything on underneath it. And so it was very traumatizing for me.
They laugh, but they laughing. They laughing at dude though. Come on, man.
To go.
He for real.
You know, I mean,
I think it's traumatizing for us hearing about it. I am traumatized.
You know, but that's part of who he is. It's Rodney. You know, you got to expect that. But I go to a read through for the script the first week of shooting, and he would just be sitting there, you know, in his silk robe. You know?
No, sir.
Okay, you have destroyed 14 careers. 14 careers in one interview.
No,
incredible.
He's incredible.
Right now, they're filing charges against Rodney in L.A. The whole cast of Mad About You and Sequest is being rounded up.
He's great, though. He's fantastic. I gotta, you know.
Other than his constant nudity, the finest actor I ever met.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to run. We've run out of time.
Wow.
It was just, there was too much there.
Wow. They laugh completely in Buddy face.
I don't know if you guys know this, but most of your favorite creators have substance abuse problems. Let's talk about it. I've been working in the entertainment industry since I was 15 years old. I literally had my own friend group that was kind of like the Disney Channel kids growing up. So when I tell you I've seen everything under the sun when it comes to Hollywood influencer parties, I truly have. And it's very apparent when you attend these influencer/Hollywood parties that people literally are so addicted to these substances. People tell you not to meet your idols, and one time I'll tell you I literally met my idol, and it was this Hollywood girl. I'm not going to specify who, but she was doing a line in the bathroom, and okay, whatever, maybe you're interested in doing that. But then I saw her literally 10 minutes later back in the bathroom, like begging people to get a line. And I just felt really bad for her because I understood that like the complexities of this industry and just like how much we push to get people to like grow up so fast lead to people getting addicted to substances to escape the fact that they lost their childhoods. I also think that like influencers need to be held accountable to how they glamorize this lifestyle. Like, this is not healthy, this is not sustainable. If you cannot survive without consuming a substance regularly, that is addiction. If you are sacrificing other areas of your life, other people in your life for a substance, that is addiction.
Man, this is a deep topic.
My unpopular opinion is that there should be no professional child working actors, that kids need to be taken out of Hollywood altogether. I feel as strongly about this as I do about kids getting taken off of social media channels. The industry is built for predators. Even if there are parents that do care about their kids and watch them all the time, even though if there are safeguards that are put into effect after this documentary came out, there will always be parents that are willing to out their kids, and the industry will reward those people. We saw that happen in this documentary. I'm pretty sure that parents who did put up a fuss, their kids weren't invited back for other seasons. And it is no coincidence that the biggest child stars who are still like in entertainment now, that they came from poor single moms. It is a system in an industry that preys on vulnerable parents who are willing to out their kids. Even if a child is not straight up SA'd, the industry is still harmful for their mental health. The actress who played Matilda has written about this. I listen to a lot of celebrity memoir book club, and they cover a lot of kids stars memoirs, and they all say the same thing, that is really hard to be such a financial contributor to your family. Kids notice it, they feel the tension, they feel the pressure. Here's the thing, if your child is such a great dancer, singer, actress, personality, what are they benefiting from being a working actor in Hollywood, having to go to auditions, that they are not getting from joining a theater program at a school, getting them into a good high school, or like a summer camp program, you know, paying for voice lessons or whatever.
People gonna say money. People gonna say, okay, if this person gets a role and they make all this money, then that's worth it. That's what they gonna say the biggest difference is.
And I know you're going to say, well, you know, that's going to cost money. It's not going to be good for poor parents. The cost of being a full-time parent on set with your child actor, parents should not be working jobs because they should be with their kids all the time. Instead, have the parents get a job, send the kids to normal school, and then you can pay for their extracurriculars and try to get them into good programs. There is no reason for a kid to be an employee. And for people who are going to say, what are we going to do about shows and movies if we can't cast kids? Which I think should be the least of the worries when kids are actively being harmed. Okay, so maybe we won't have kids in movies. But honestly, like for teen shows, use adults. People on Euphoria could all pass as teens and they were all adults. For little kid stuff, I don't know. Honestly, use AI at this point. I don't care. Or I was kind of brainstorming this actually. If there's like a thing where like 2 weeks in the summer as like a fun summer camp, you can have like, you can make the studios do all of their kid filming in like a 2-week period in the summer where the parents have to be there the whole time. I don't know, but maybe do it that way. But I really honestly don't give a fuck about like what happens to like how we're going to portray kids in media. The point is this industry is awful and kids are paying the price. There are no safeguards that you can put into effect to save kids from the things that were described in this documentary, because there are always going to be parents who are willing to
crazy and tragic stories about child actors. Edward Furlong, who you might remember from Terminator 2 or American History X, was only 15 years old when he entered into a relationship with his then 29-year-old tutor. They went on to spend 6 years together. He did not age well. When Judy Garland was only 14, MGM told her that she, quote, looked like a fat pig with pigtails. They told the cafeteria to only feed her chicken soup, told her to smoke 80 cigarettes a day, and even prescribed her pills to try and suppress her appetite. Hollywood was extra dark back in the olden days. Macaulay Culkin once sued his parents over his $17 million fortune when he was only 15 years old. He's also described his father in interviews as being both mentally and physically abusive. While filming The Others, Alak and a man had to spend 3 whole months inside in order to remain sufficiently pale. Like, just let the kid go outside and play already.
Childhood stars are the most broken people that we have on exhibit. If you want to really examine human beings if you wanted to do like a psychological study, like what is the average architect like? What is the average singer like? What is the average child star like? Well, they're almost all drug addicts. They're almost all completely wrecked. Their personalities never fully develop. They develop under this weird position where everyone loves them from the time they're little, and they get exorbitant amounts of attention that are completely unearned. Then they never have to develop character under adversity. They never have to prove themselves. You cannot prove yourself, in fact.
Sure.
You never have the opportunity. And so what do? They get their faces tattooed. They get hooked on drugs. They're fucked up, man. They're just falling apart. And it's almost universal.
But my mother was, still is, the kind of tortured artist type. She struggled with, in very many ways, her place in the world. I think she found a tremendous amount of self-identity through motherhood and tried to turn it into a profitable business at the same time, which for identical twin boys going into acting is sort of economic loophole through labor laws that can be incredibly profitable. So that's what she did. And as I've thought about it, it seemed like to me it made a lot of financial sense to her to put us into acting. I think it satisfied some sort of narcissism that she probably had in order to be recognized as this sort of artistic success. She was a wonderful painter, so she always wanted sort of artistic legitimacy and validation. But as time went on, I think the entertainment industry just kind of broke her. This industry in very many ways, it encourages the worst qualities of you as a person. Narcissism, selfishness, greed, a lot of these things that we have come to know as practically cardinal sins. It's one of those things that encouraged a kind of selfishness that was directly opposed to the very fundamental idea of motherhood.
Jeez.
And as I grew older, in my case, the court had to step in and rend my brother and I towards our father, who's an incredible guy.
These people should be protecting a child going into work. The children going into work, I blame the parents mainly. I think it goes parents, business, and then the people that are doing it.
What? You think the perpetrators of it are the least to blame?
For protection, I'm talking about protection. The parents should be protecting the child because that's they're the guardian. The show should be protecting the child because they're employing them, and then the person who's doing it is the scumbag of all of it. But if those two don't do their job first, then they can't reach it.
Yeah, well, I think probably a lot of parents and adults just got like seduced by the money and potential like fame of it all.
The other guy from Disney, from That's So Raven.
Orlando
Brown.
Yeah,
he is messed up.
Yeah, he's really messed up.
He is messed up.
Yeah.
The progress of him being like this cute, fun, bubbly kid to a crackhead.
If you're not the star, if you're not kind of the one that's going to get propelled forward, you go through all of the same difficulties and toxicity, but you don't get the benefits of it.
I haven't watched the movie yet, but everyone keeps asking me like, oh, did you watch that movie about
the child actors and the Nickelodeon thing and how fucked up they are. To me, it's always shocking that anyone thinks that it's like...
That they would be normal.
That there's any other result of it.
Yes, right.
Like, I know maybe 2 child actors, and we're all still kind of fucked. I mean, I'm like, I happen to have come out the other side.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate that I still work and that I didn't totally blow my life up. But, like, it wasn't pretty for a while. And, that's the best case scenario. The best case scenario is that you, at 26, have been to, like, 3 rehabs and are cutting and full-blown bulimic and having liver failure.
Wow.
And are sick enough that you have to
That you hit rock bottom and you know something's wrong.
and something clicks that, like, I'm able to now have, like, a wife and kids. But like, that's the to
That's
me,
like
at least
best
in my
case.
experience, that's totally best case.
Dang.
Your progress downhill from the time you were about 9 has been pretty well documented, but in a sense, it's good to hear it again because it can be a lesson and it can help other young people. I mean, how old were you when you first had alcohol?
9.
And then, well, how did you start to drink? So the usual way, somebody said, have a drink at this.
Right. Well, I had grown up very fast, and it's not very normal to see a 9-year-old at a big Hollywood party drinking. And it looks a little weird, and people were laughing and just saying, you know, I dare you to do this, and I did, and I got really drunk, and it was such a scary, frightening feeling, yet it was such an escape from everything else in the world that I had a very liking to it, and...
Do you think that ran in the family? Because, I mean, there were generations of Barrymores who were keen on the drink.
Yeah, my whole family was definitely, they were all drinkers, and they abused it, and they say it's hereditary, and I'm sure it is, because I have a long list of it. But
And what about the drugs?
that started when I was around 10 and 11, and
Who gave you the first drug, for goodness sake?
as I said then, they were friends, but they weren't really friends. And to me, it just seemed normal. All the people I were around did it, and I thought it was...
Bruh, what? 10?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah,
completely.
What are your thoughts on child acting? Like, we've had different child actors on the show who feel differently. Some who are like, I would never let my kids. I don't think anyone should. And others who are open to it as long as there's like certain conditions on set.
Obviously, my relationship to it has and is currently and has been changing, and I'm reprocessing a lot of what the experience was like. You know, my
tough.
I think that the environment needs to be made safer if kids are going to be acting, and I think there should be therapists. I think there should be parents allowed to be wherever they want to be, and I think not only on kids' sets. I think if anyone wants to do this or music or anything at the level of exposure that it means to be on TV or to do music with a major label or whatever, there should be in the contract something about therapy is mandatory twice a week or thrice a week or something like that. And I was actually talking to Max Martin about this the other day because he was always such an amazing person to talk to about the stressful parts of what I was experiencing. And he was just amazing. But a lot of people don't have the support that they need to get through performing at that level at such a young age, but also...
Yo, you can hear and see how tough it is for her to explain what it's like. Like, you can visibly see it and hear it in her voice, like she's struggling to explain it. You can tell she's been through a lot. This is really crazy.
Dealing with some of the things that the survivors who've come forward, and there's not a word for how devastating that is to hear about. And so I think the environment just needs to be made a lot safer all around. And like I said, I'm still in real time processing my relationship to it. But the beautiful thing about it was that
Liz and I got to fall in love with these characters that we created and learn what it feels like to be so in a character that you can't, you know, separate yourself from it. And
you started as a kid.
I started.
You did Annie.
I did Annie. I would not let my hypothetical future child do it until they turned 18.
Why is that? Did you feel like a Disney kid?
I wasn't on Disney, so I feel like that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing.
I can't even begin to fathom what that would have been
Nickelodeon.
like.
And like the stories are coming out now.
The sad thing is I'm not surprised. I wish it was a shock because that would mean that it would be an anomaly. But there's this systemic thing at play. It's just been freaky. I started properly when I was 15. You're either a proper 15-year-old and you navigate a very adult world, that's hard, or you're just forced to grow up really quickly, right? Which is what most of us go through. Something about that instills this concept within you. I need to suppress my childlike qualities to adhere to this prototype that they've created. I don't know how anyone navigates this industry without becoming codependent with it at a certain point. But I'm dealing with stuff that I didn't deal with back then, now, right? Yeah. It always comes back.
Jeez.
You're 16. Where does your inspiration come from?
Believe it or not, being 16, I've been through a lot, so...
Come on, how much heartbreak can you have at 16?
We were hooking up, but I said, hey, this is not going any farther. I'm a virgin, and I don't want to lose it this way. And that didn't matter to them. They did it anyways. And I internalized it, and I told myself it was my fault because I still went in the room with him. I still hooked up with him. Here was the thing. I was a part of that Disney crowd that publicly said they were waiting till marriage. I didn't have the romantic, first time with anybody. That was not it for me, and that sucked. And then I had to see this person all the time.
This stuff is crazy.
Jackie Coogan was one of the first child stars, but for him, Hollywood was a cautionary tale. Though he began acting when he was only 18 months old, he catapulted to fame at the age of 4 after starring in The Kid with Charlie Chaplin. In the 1920s, he became a sensation and was even called the nation's #1 box office attraction. On the surface, it seemed that Coogan's future was secure. With this much success, he'd surely be rich by the time he reached adulthood, right? Wrong. In his 20s, when he finally tried to access his hard-earned money, he made a disturbing discovery. His money didn't actually belong to him, and there wasn't much left. Because he'd been a minor, his parents had full control of his earnings, and they squandered his fortune shamelessly.
Wow.
So in 1938, Jackie Coogan sued his own parents. But he only walked away with $126,000 when he'd earned about $4 million.
Jeez.
The silver lining in all of this is that his case inspired the Coogan Act, which ensured that 15% of a child actor's earnings had to be placed in a trust. As an adult, Jackie Coogan was best known for his role as Uncle Fester in The Addams Family.
There's been a lot of rumors about child actors in Hollywood recently. What do you make of all that?
It's all true.
Did you escape unscathed?
I did. I saw a lot of it. For example, I worked on a children's TV show on a major network. One of the writers, after we wrapped on the show, after the show was canceled, it was inappropriate relationships between an adult and minors because Hollywood goes ahead and it blurs the lines between what is appropriate between adults and children because you're working with adults constantly. Right. My entire life. Those lines get really blurred. So if a writer on a TV show that you worked on invites you and one of your co-stars out to lunch to talk about another TV show that he's working on, your parents go, oh, okay, yeah. Well, you've worked with him for 2 years at this point. Let's take you to lunch. And then you're sitting here with this girl who's a year older than you and he starts talking about the lesbian fantasies that he has about you and your friend.
What?
Yeah. And there's also a strange pattern that occurs where it's really taken advantage of how much it means to the young performer to get a laugh from Video Village. You're like, oh shit, I'm doing something great. This is funny. This is good. And
by the way, Video Village, we should say, is where all of the producers and the director are watching the monitors of what's being captured on camera.
And I feel like what's worse in the film industry maybe or more amplified is a spirit of adult behavior towards children. What I've gathered from interviewing a lot of our guests who started as children is that there's 2 phenomena that are common. One is infantilizing people, treating people who aren't children like children, and then treating children like adults, expecting adult behavior from them or acting in ways or letting children be exposed to things that they're not developmentally ready for.
No.
Yeah.
That's
really,
it's really well
upsetting.
Put,
This Disney Channel star has been speaking up for years, but nobody has paid attention. Remember Allison Stone from Camp Rock? She was also on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody when she was real small. Now, we don't know what happened, but she said that something happened to her on the set of Camp Rock that she had to keep a secret. She made a YouTube video where she basically confessed her story on Hollywood, and I must warn you that it's also very disturbing. Now, everything is coming to the light because we all know and love Drake Bell, but she says that everything starts from the auditions. So imagine all the kids that we do not know about that are victims as well. She says that she wants to help the next generation and she's gonna need some help. She wants to have therapists on the set. She wants to have like people that help with mental health and all that. I cannot show everything, but here are a couple clips from this video.
While traversing extreme peaks and valleys of global fame, hidden medical hospitalizations, artistic milestones, rapid adultification, and multi-layered abuse I wish on no one, I narrowly survived the toddler to train wreck pipeline. In fact, nothing was designed for me to end up normal, stable, alive. The toddler to train wreck pipeline is a notorious and thriving industrial complex around child entertainers. No signs of improvement for centuries. As someone who lived it and witnessed thousands endure alongside me, I can attest that what is missing from the pipeline narrative are clear action plans for intervention, long-term prevention, and accountability from studios, agencies, and guardians. On behalf of the current children being abused right now, there is an opportunity for us to empower each other through honest conversation and collaborative action. About pointing fingers, but about working together to protect children who will be the next generation of society, many of whom have palpable influence over your own kids. Very few resources exist to help people unpack and navigate the implications of a child star-studded culture, whether you're the kid, the parent, the agent, or the audience. Solutions like mental health practitioners and industry literacy courses are easy next steps. Though I'm not without scars and ongoing struggles, I'm still one of the most fortunate cases. I had access to a therapist who saw past the enchantment of fame and taught me to safely re-inhabit my body. By some inner mysterious force, I committed to deep self-work and constant healing as my rebellion. I dared to lose everything I'd worked for and walk away long enough to gain paradigm-shattering insight.
Wow.
You seem to have come out of child stardom more intact than most child actors do. How did you chart that course with family or on your own?
You know, I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't difficult at times. I didn't feel like I became an adult and I started learning about people in the world until the show ended. The day the show ended, there were certain individuals that delighted in letting me know, you've been canceled and we don't have to treat you that way anymore.
Wow.
At the end of the day, I got a great mom and dad who, not knowing certain aspects of the business, they had one instinct, and that was, we're going to protect our son. You know, there's a law that requires only in acting that 25% of a kid's earnings go to a trust until they turn 18.
Right, it's the Jackie Cooper law.
It's Jackie Cooper law.
Yeah.
And my mom went to court and she upped it to 33. That was just her thinking. She was always thinking, how can I protect my son?
That's dope.
Why does this happen to so many young artists, childhood stars?
You know, when you ask me this question, at this age, I feel a lot of guilt. I feel a lot of guilt because I worked with so many young artists. And like I told you, I hadn't taken the time to look at myself or do the therapy myself until I was older. So I didn't understand at 25 years old, at 27 years old, at 30 years old, that they each were coming from very unique backgrounds of their own stuff with their own families and their own childhoods and growing up this way and being seen by the whole world and being judged by the whole world at a very young age. And I think it's two things. I think one, human beings are not made to be worshipped. I think we're made to serve.
I agree.
And I think that when we worship human beings, it changes something within us. It messes us up a little bit because that's not what we're built for.
Right.
And I think that can be very confusing. And I think being able to transcend the childhood of, you know, people cheering your name and everything else at that level and get to the place where the artists I've worked with are, where they are in healthy relationships and with their families and still working through stuff, but like having a human experience, I think it's a testament to their strength. So I think that's part of it. I just think the nature of being on that stage, you know, that young and people chanting your name. And I didn't realize that till, you know, I got older. The other side of it is I never understood, even without me, I didn't have that childhood, yet I broke. And what I think also is important is I don't think we can push everything. I think adversity is important. We can't just talk about mental health and say adversity shouldn't exist. But I do think I understand the importance now of really putting in the time to make sure mental health is addressed and that we have an outlet to speak to someone outside of the crew. And there's a lot of things that I learned within myself that I wish I knew back then.
This man did everything in his power to protect his son. And he couldn't do it. And it broke his fucking heart. Brian Peck was cold and calculated. Basically, he had convinced Robin, which is Drake Bell's mom, to cut ties with the dad who was his manager at the time. And that all that would be passed over to Brian Peck. And even after that, his dad still tried. He told his mom, he said, "I have one thing, please do not ever leave Drake alone with that man." And then Robin ended up letting him stay the night all the time over at Brian's house. The only two people at the time that had this strange feeling about Brian was his dad and also Drake Bell's girlfriend's mom. His girlfriend's mom had a feeling before his own mother. Reading everything that was done to him is sick. It was truly sick and disturbing. And I'm so fucking sorry. There is a special place in hell for anyone who takes advantage of children. Like, the deepest pits of hell.
I don't even know Buddy's story.
I was trying out for a movie. I didn't get it. I don't even think they ever made it, but it was a father-daughter road trip comedy. There was someone involved with the project that the feedback, which I didn't hear from my agents and things, because they were very protective. They wouldn't tell me things like this, but I heard it from an outside party, which I also like that filtration system is really important because there's probably a lot more damaging comments that were said that they filtered out, but this one got to me. And I was 16. I was literally 16 years old. And this person said, "Oh, she didn't get the father-daughter road trip comedy because she's unfuckable." I was like, at 16. Yes. And I'm like, there's so many stories like this, you know, like, of course, that I have heard and I've talked to people about this. I mean, I laugh at it now. I'm like, what a disgusting pig. But, you know.
But how do you digest that and then keep going?
It's funny thinking about, like, myself at that age. I've always been confident, but of course, you're growing up in the public eye, like so it's weird. Like I'll look at photos now, which I remember back then. I'm like, look at paparazzi photos when I was, you know, you're 12 years old and you're like, you know, and back then, like, is that a good thing to see such a mirror of yourself at that age? You know, I don't feel like it damaged me, but it definitely made me very aware of myself.
This is some wild shit.
I remember, like, for commercial auditions, sometimes kids would just seem so bubbly and excited to be there. And I remember feeling so uncomfortable. And usually there were a couple other kids there who seemed as uncomfortable as I did.
Wouldn't the kids that weren't so motivated and excited not get the parts?
Well, it depends on the role. Like, I got a lot of really sad kid roles, like Law and Order or Judging Amy, Without a Trace, the really sad children.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But then I wound up not playing a sad child for a long time.
Was there ever a point, though, where you're just like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go in this role? Or was it forced on you, like, hey, we gotta pay the bills?
I would cry on several occasions when it just felt like it really got to be too much. And I'd tell my mom, I don't want to do this anymore. But she would either say, like, Nat, you don't mean that, we need this. And then I'd feel guilty.
Especially if you were forced into...
Which is, I think, the case for like 90% of young actors. I remember a lot of frowns on those little faces. It's a weird business. I don't think kids love it.
It's almost like exploitation, unless they're like, that's all I want to do.
Well, for sure, but you can spot them a mile away because they come in like tap dancing and they're like got a big smile on their face and they seem so...
Almost exploitation, bro.
I did an episode of Zoe 101, and that was weird.
What
that
was weird about that?
It was just, you just felt the...
and this was with Jamie Lynn Spears.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a Dan Schneider show.
Just not a good
this
vibe.
is before she came out pregnant.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like season 1 or something. I had one line that actually got cut. So I looked like an extra in the show. But I just remember the dynamics were, I don't know how to explain it other than he felt creepy. He seemed creepy. And everything, there was no joy anywhere. And like being this, I was like 12, I think. And being this just like joy, like, I'm going to be on a Nickelodeon show, was just like none of that was there. Everything was very tense. And I think
the energy was just off. It was just an offset. Yeah.
And then hearing people come out being like, it was more than off. Like it was abusive. It was like an abuse. It's like, oh yeah, of course it was. And I think my mom saw that and did not push. Like she wasn't like trying to schmooze with anyone on set. She was like very concerned about, I don't want my daughter to be here for more time than she has to be.
Let's just do the one and done.
Let's get your one line that's gonna get cut and get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, as she should. For real.
Did you know that Corey Feldman, star of The Goonies, Stand By Me, The Lost Boys, and Friday the 13th, was one of the most vocal child actors speaking out against Hollywood abuse? Feldman rose to fame in the 1980s, but behind the scenes he says he was abused by multiple men in the industry. In his 2020 documentary, My Truth, of Two Coreys, Feldman named names publicly for the first time. He accused actor Charlie Sheen, who denied the allegations, of his friend Corey Haim during the filming of Lucas.
Whoa.
He also named talent manager Marty Weiss and actor John Grissom, who had small roles with Feldman in License to Drive and Dream a Little Dream. Feldman also accused former child talent agent Bob Villard, who later pleaded no contest to child charges of being part of the same circle. Haim's mother and others backed up his claims. Aside from the abuse, Feldman said his finances were mismanaged. Despite earning millions, he ended up with just $40,000 by the time he was an adult.
Wow.
He said many child stars were exploited not just physically, but also financially, while legal systems like the Coogan Act failed to enforce protections.
Wow. Wow. Even the act didn't even...
A check from Fox doesn't go to me. It goes into like an account that you can't touch until you're 18 because there's been so many kid actors that they work and the parents spend all the money.
Child actors. Not only do they come into a lot of money very quickly without the experience to handle it, but they also have parents that tend to take advantage of the situation, spend a lot of it, and leave them with almost nothing. Like there's something called the Coogan account that was basically put in place to prevent the parents from going and taking all the money while the kid's underage. So if you make $1 million, the kids are keeping 15% of that.
At least they would have that 15%.
It's unbelievable that they passed a law to say that parents can only blow 85%.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild.
You know, like, yeah. Did you have any say in whether or not you worked when you were young?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
Like it was after a while, it became, like I said, a job, and it was I never chose the projects. They were like my parents, like, you know, essentially like chose them for me.
So they were
it was
like,
kind of
good news, Macaulay.
Yeah, exactly. You know, yeah. They called
You're
me
gonna
Macaulay.
buy us a new house.
Macaulay.
Yeah, there you go. You know, and like I never read any of the scripts. Like I would just read like the lines for like the next day or whatever. Like I would like get the gist of what the movie was about, but then I just kind of show up and hit my marks, find my light. and recite my lines,
So surreal.
It's kind of just like, again, like it's what you do.
Right.
Like it's like in the same way that like kids go to like school or something like that. Like, you fall into a routine to a certain extent.
Crazy.
While some companies stay within the legal range of working hours for minors, many do not. Regardless, set conditions are inappropriate and hazardous. Did you know that according to the U.S. Department of Labor, 17 states still don't have any regulations in place for child entertainment in 2021? Yet all 50 have working child performers. Adding to this, Zero Productions acknowledged that after their shoot, I will go to another, record an interview during my lunch break, train for multiple hours, skip dinner, and meet for a late night rehearsal. After all, their responsibility is to deliver a product on time and in budget, not to babysit. Meanwhile, agents are encouraging me to look at early emancipation so I can work longer hours.
Bruh.
Here are some child actors whose parents pushed them into acting for money or straight up stole from them. When Demi Lovato was a teenager, their status as family breadwinner led to power imbalance and difficult relationships with their parents. On Demi's podcast 4D, Demi said, "I cringe back looking back at that attitude, but when the world is putting you on a pedestal, you kind of think that you can do no wrong." When Keke Palmer was little, her entire family moved from Illinois to California just so she could pursue an acting career. As Keke has other siblings, her parents found it a little bit difficult to divide their time between them, their work, and Keke's work. So Keke became the financial breadwinner because of this. Keke told Los Angeles Times that everybody's positions were flipped upside down, so some years after that, I did start to feel the pressure. Macaulay Culkin's father pushed him into child acting. His parents served as co-managers, however, their separation resulted in a big custody battle. Macaulay took matters into his own hands. He told Esquire that he legally took his parents' names off his trust fund and found someone who would just take a look over his finances. Bella Thorne only took the role in Shake It Up because her family were physically going to live on the streets if she didn't take up that role. On the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, she said, "We were living off food coupons and that's all we had to eat every day."
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry.
You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Like that was bad. Yeah. Wow, look at your eyes.
She presented with Luke Bryan, and before Bieber took the podium, she assaulted him with kisses on the neck and a butt grab.
Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose.
So everybody needs to be on that shit. Everybody needs to tune in.
In a surprising turn of events, Jaden Smith, the multi-talented artist and son of Hollywood icon Will Smith, has recently opened up about an intriguing chapter in the lives of two music industry giants. In an exclusive interview, Jaden sheds light on the behind-the-scenes dynamics between Sean Diddy Combs and old friend Justin Bieber. As we all know, Diddy took the role of a mentor for Justin when he first came into the music industry, and as innocent as that sounds, I fear that's not all that was going on. Diddy has made headlines recently for hosting and being involved in alleged gay sex parties, sexual assault cases, and yes, the grooming of beloved child superstars in the past, aka Justin Bieber. Given Jaden's and Justin's history, one can assume that if anyone has the scoop on what's been going on between Diddy, Justin, and his father Will, Jaden would have the answers, and boy did he drop a bombshell.
God, I beg you, please.
When Justin was 16 years old and just starting out in music, he spent a rather uncomfortable looking 48 hours with Diddy, and he captured it all in a now posted YouTube video.
So where are we off to now?
Where would you like to go?
I mean, wherever you want to go.
I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full crazy.
Now knowing what we know about Diddy, this video seems less than innocent. Even the comment section has been revived and been analyzing the situation. One person said, crazy to read comments from 13 years ago versus now in 2023, with Diddy being exposed to the things he's done. The red flags are all in this video and we all looked past it. I'm sorry, Justin. Another said, how did nobody catch this 14 years ago? We've got to do better this time around. During the video, Diddy promised a lot of things to Justin, some things being downright shady. In the 48 hours video released on Justin's channel, Diddy takes Justin to a garage, shows him a Ferrari, and says that he could ride it as soon as he turns 16. Later on, he then says Justin can have his house when he turns 18. Now, while it sounds playful and innocent, fans have been pointing out that all these gifts are rewards for deeds that Justin's been doing behind the scenes. One person tweeted, sounds like classic grooming behavior if you ask me. But many people are curious why all of this is coming out now and why it took people like Jaden so long to finally reveal the truth. I mean, it's taken 14 years for the shady behavior of Diddy to get recognized. The truth is, recently, the spotlight has been on Diddy and Diddy alone, with the whole Cassie abuse lawsuit going on, and his now revealed history with Kim Porter. All eyes turn to him, and many people who have been silenced and hiding the truth about Diddy have now chosen to come forward and speak up. Jaden, Usher, Diddy's ex-security team, and even notorious gangster Keith D are all joining forces to expose Diddy for who he really is. And honestly, Jaden spilling all the deets on Diddy isn't really surprising. Diddy was famous for hosting gay sex parties, some of which allegedly even involved his father, Will Smith. We all know that something has been off with Will's behavior towards other men. Even the affection he shows towards his son always felt like over the top and borderline inappropriate.
Jaden, come on. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Oh my God, this is ridiculous.
If this is how Will treated his...
Okay. So I wanted to open this chat because I get asked this question a lot. Sorry for the dishwasher, but why do you feel like child actors struggle with addiction? So I thought I would do like kind of a series, but I just want to generally answer the question. And my answer is a couple things. Number one, we are sort of treated like adults from a very young age, right? Expected to work, expected to show up on time, expected to be prepared. That's a lot of pressure. And, you know, most of us are like in this work, so we're willing to do it. Number two, we have money. Number three, which we usually spend on, you know, being addicts. And number three, which I think is the biggest one, is that we are sort of praised constantly, given presents constantly, free things, gifts, get to go to cool events, all when you're a child, which when you become an adult and you realize like that's not how life works, it can be really debilitating. And so we're searching for that, you know, way to like feel important and feel needed and feel special all the time, because our upbringing was literally all about us being special, which, you know, talented people are special. Everybody's special, but that category of special, I guess, you know? And when you become an adult and you realize that you have to exist like as a human and like do these things for yourself, it's debilitating. And drugs and alcohol help people cope with the insecurity of like being a normal human. So I guess this leads me to like, you know, a lot of other things like advice if you're a parent of a child in the business, or, you know, advice if you're a child in the business, or advice for people who are around children in the business. But those are, I guess, like the 3 bullet points for me that, you know, I've sort of throughout the years thought about a lot. And we can talk more about this. So if you have any questions or, you know, concerns, I'm, you know, sober today and learning to be an adult every day, one day at a time.
The harsh reality of being a former Disney star. I played the character Zeke Beakerman on the hit Disney Channel show Wizards of Waverly Place. It was an incredible experience. It changed my entire life. It was a high unlike anything I can quite describe to you. Working with some of the biggest, most talented celebrities and being on one of the greatest Disney shows of all time was amazing. But after the show, I struggled to find any way to replicate the massive success. And I continued to fall into pitfalls of getting parts that were not very good and then trying to be something that I was not. I put on 15 pounds of muscle. I tried to be a leading man, and I fell away from doing what made me successful in the first place, which was being this over-the-top, crazy, zany, fun-loving, authentic character that came deep from who I was as a person. After I struggled and didn't get on any major project after Disney, I ran out of money and I needed to go find a normal job, and there was a guilt that I felt from doing that. And I'm sure you've seen news articles showcasing former child stars working normal jobs and kind of shaming them, which is a shame because it's almost impossible for someone to replicate that level of success over and over and over again. Especially someone who is a child star that needs to transition into growing older. They're going to change. Their body's going to change. Their voice is going to change, and their personality is going to change significantly.
Right.
And so it's hard to be successful at each of those different stages of your career. So I have always been struggling and feeling like I've been chasing that feeling that I had when working on the show. I've done some incredible things since being on Wizards of Waverly Place. I've met some incredible people. I've worked in lots of different industries, and I've been incredibly fortunate to have an amazing family behind me, supporting me all along the way. But I won't lie to you that I miss the feeling of what it was like to be on that show. And now being on TikTok, I've started to feel that feeling again. And I just wanted to say thank you all for giving that to me.
Yo, shout out to him, man. Shout out to you, bro.
Oh boy, what a week, y'all. Let's talk about it. My name is Jack. I was a child actor on Zoe 101, one of this guy's shows. I also worked in his production department as an intern on iCarly, and I worked in the writer's room on Salmon Cat and Victorious. This Max documentary that was recently released did a really good job of uncovering the details of workplace toxicity, specifically on Dan Schneider's shows for Nickelodeon. We could talk about the massages. We could talk about the fact that he would literally count his gold coin collection in front of his crew who was living paycheck to paycheck. We could talk about how sometimes he would bring out a shotgun to scare one of the writers when they were working at his house. We could talk about the high-level conversations I wasn't supposed to hear about how Nickelodeon didn't want to recommend antidepressants for Jeanette McCurdy after her mom died for fear that she might kill herself and make the network look bad. But what I do want to talk about is never letting this stuff happen again. This is an entire industry built on hope and dreams and adrenaline and wish fulfillment. And that can be a very dangerous thing for megalomaniacs to wield. Even in posting this, I'm a little afraid. Is this going to screw up my career moving forward? I have no idea, but I think it's important and it needs to be said. Because if my silence ensures the perpetuation of environments I don't want to work in anymore, then what is the point of working in them? And until Homeboy goes on 60 Minutes to answer some questions from some real journalists and not a cast member of his who he's paying to be there, apology not accepted.
To some, you're a hero. To some, you're a villain. To some, you are, so talented. To others, you are overrated and you should never be hired again. But when you're a child and you hear, actually, not exaggerating, millions of comments about who you are while you haven't formed your own identity yet or had time to experiment, it gets really confusing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the criticisms that I heard body image related criticisms and like, you know, why is Allison getting hired? They're so ugly or whatever. Which for an 8-year-old is like, ouch, like why?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay. But, and then you've got on the flip side, people who are like praising you and almost inflating your ego.
Right.
And so it's just sort of like being in a space of extremes. It's like extreme work hours, extreme feedback, haters, fans.
Yeah.
And so I think the toll there was I started looking for, what do I have control over? What can I do to cope? And I chose a couple of things that weren't ultimately the healthiest. One, I obsessed over food and exercise. Two, I just dissociated as a survival strategy. I just went numb. I couldn't really feel anything, high, low, good, bad, none of it. But it takes a lot when you haven't been feeling and then you start to feel a little bit and then suddenly you feel everything.
It's more deeper questions that I be wanting to know. Like, why were you so infatuated with a child that wasn't yours? Were you grooming that little boy? I don't even want to start those conversations because that's not your child. You know what I'm saying? And for you to keep him that close, it's like you kept him that close because he might got your secrets because he's not your child. So if he's not your child and you that type of person with that type of character, you don't mind actually doing it to him when he finally reaches a certain age because he's not yours. And you know in your mind he's not yours. And now you keep him real close to you. You make sure he don't go to his daddy. Why? We make sure he's separated with him and you provide him with everything he wants. Why? You got one of them little Michael Jackson secrets. He got one of them secrets that he can't tell nobody because his legacy, I mean, his manhood gonna be, and not only that, his brother them gonna look at him crazy. Only Puffy know, only God and Puffy.
You talking about Quincy, right?
I don't know. All I'm gonna say is, I don't know.
I'll be sure, son.
All I'm gonna say is, who's infatuated with another man's son like that? Like you, that seemed like grooming to me. I got, that's his daughter's brothers. Get the fuck out of here, huh? Plenty of daughters got brothers. Go show one man that do it. That ain't in the household with him. Like I'm saying, like I'm not married to your mother. If I'm married to your mother, then yeah, fuck your daddy. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't there. I'm here. But I'm not married to your mother. You actually my stepson. I keep you with me. I treat you like what for? I want to know what Justin Bieber, I want to know. Justin Bieber, look at his life change. His man life, that man is terrified of Puffy. I seen the video. I'm in the streets, dog. People know, you know fear, dog. Me like, what happened to your number? You like, I lost it. You know fear, man. You got to think of all the people, the white folks who've been at the parties. They scared. They don't roll in crowds with niggas and guns. You know, when they get slapped in the mouth at a party for being too high, they shut up. You get what I'm saying? You got to think of all these people who've been terrified for years. Everybody.
All right, guys, that was another TikTok compilation. Hey, man, you made it this far. You a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. This one was very disturbing. For them to not have, certain states to not have laws governing like these child actors, and hearing how like the best case scenario is that, yo, I was able to turn my life around, but I still got scars and I still was traumatized and I still had to go through rehab and I still had to. This stuff is really crazy. This stuff is really crazy. I'm just glad to see that starting to make their voice heard in the midst of all this stuff, to bring attention or more attention to what's going on. And it's just sad to see. It's sad to see some of the people that you love watching on TV and stuff like that, and then seeing how they grew up and seeing how their life turned out and seeing how they turned over to addiction and turned over to all these type of things. Like, it's tough to see, man, but till next time, self-love and positivity. Fire Squad, I got you and you know it.